Albuquerque City Council has approved the city's $1.5 billion fiscal year budget. State officials have launched probes into possible misuse of disaster relief funds by Mora County. The Gateway Sobering Center is moving closer to opening after months of setbacks. The closure of the Lee County Correctional Facility near Hobbs by the end of June will result in over 200 layoffs and the relocation of about 1,000 inmates. And the Las Cruces Police Department held a press conference on Tuesday to discuss the fatal shooting of a teenager that occurred earlier in May. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Wednesday, May 21st, and I'll have more on those stories plus Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
The Albuquerque City Council approved a $1.5 billion budget for the next fiscal year, largely accepting Mayor Tim Keller's proposal and continuing on his priorities. With more on this, I'm now joined by the Journal's local government reporter Justin Garcia, who covered the budget's approval. Justin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, Justin, as we laid out at the top, this budget continues on Mayor Tim Keller's priorities, which include housing, homelessness, and policing. Can you describe for us a little bit how exactly this budget plans to tackle those issues?
Yeah, that's right. So this budget really did not seek to do anything different than what was already being done. Part of that was because of the revenue that was coming in. There, as Councilor Renee Grout put it, there just really wasn't additional revenue to kind of really expand services or do lots of different things. So this budget that the council accepted on Monday night was very similar to what the mayor had proposed, although with some notable changes.
And Justin, something also of note in this budget is the fact that all city employees are set to receive a 2.5 cost of living raise, but a concern that cropped up during this budget process was the fact that there's been some sluggish growth in the gross receipts tax revenue. Can you expand a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. This was one of the final flashpoints from the meeting on Monday night. A lot of the council wanted to make that number higher. They wanted to give city employees a bigger raise, but there wasn't agreement on what to cut in order to get to that point. So we'll see what happens over the course of the year. One of the things that was brought up was potentially if gross receipts tax revenue comes in at a higher than expected rate throughout the year, then this could be back on the table come December.
And Justin, the Albuquerque Police Department is receiving the largest allocation in this budget at $273.9 million. And this comes after a city councilor and police chief Harold Medina got into a verbal altercation earlier this month.
It's very typical for municipal governments to spend most of their money, usually around 30 to 40% of their general fund on public safety and police services. For APD, the big kind of flashpoint this year came May 8th when Councilor Luis Sanchez, a former police officer who's also running for mayor, got into an argument with APD Chief Harold Medina regarding partially what Medina was wearing, but also kind of how the department was spending its money, particularly around the administration. That conversation evolved into another councilor, Dan Lewis, criticizing the mayor's office, saying that the decision to have 1,100 police officers but only fund for 1,000 of them was equivalent to cutting the police budget. The administration kind of pushed back on that, saying, well, the police chief doesn't believe that he can get to 1,100 by the end of this fiscal year, so he believes he can get to 1,000 but not 1,100. So funding that extra 100 positions is a waste of the money.
So Justin, despite the concerns about the gross receipts tax and also concerns around APD and their budget and allocation for it, the budget did pass on a 6-2 vote, but who are the two city councilors that voted no?
That's right. The two councilors who voted against it were one I already mentioned, Dan Lewis, and the other one was Clarissa Pena. Pena's objection to it largely stemmed from some of that stuff we talked about earlier, that cost of living increase for city employees. She wanted to see a higher raise for them.
So despite some bumps in the road, the $1.5 billion budget was approved by the city council, largely aligning with Mayor Tim Keller's priorities. Journal local government reporter Justin Garcia with the latest. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
New Mexico State Auditor Joseph Maestas has launched a special audit of Mora County to determine the fate of approximately $2.7 million in missing public funds.
Yeah, so this is an interesting issue. It kind of stems from after the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire 3 years ago.
My colleague Dan Boyd is the Journal's Capitol Bureau Chief.
The legislature passed monies that allowing kind of local governments to get access to these zero-interest state loans so they could start rebuilding roads and bridges and culverts that were damaged by the fire and also by, flooding that happened after the fire. $100 million was made available by the legislature. Mora County, which is the county in question here, I'm told got about $40 million of those funds. And so the question is about if that money has been used appropriately. As you mentioned, State Auditor Joseph Maestas said he got some tips kind of from whistleblower in Mora County that raised some concerns on his end. Also, the Attorney General Raul Torres' office confirmed that they've kind of launched an investigation into it. So we don't still know exactly how this money may have been misused, but obviously there's some pretty serious concerns about some, as you mentioned, some possible kind of improprieties in how this money might have been put to use.
Maestas emphasized that any misuse of these funds could jeopardize New Mexico's ability to get reimbursed by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, potentially stalling critical recovery projects. Maestas also expressed disappointment in the situation, especially since many Mora County residents are still awaiting federal assistance after losing their homes in the fire. He also said a previous 2023 special audit requested by the county was abruptly canceled by local officials. Now the new audit will be conducted by an outside firm at the county's expense and will examine contracts, vendor agreements, and potential conflicts of interest involving county officials. In parallel, New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres has opened an independent investigation into governance and financial misconduct following a May 6th request from the Department of Finance and Administration. Concerns also expand to delays and cost issues related to a new county courthouse project. Mora County Interim Manager Richard Trujillo, appointed earlier this month, has pledged to cooperate with state officials and said no state loan funds have yet been spent due to unresolved infrastructure concerns in the Burn area. He reaffirmed his commitment to transparency, stating that the community deserves clarity and accountability from its leaders. After months of delays, Albuquerque is moving forward with the long-awaited opening of the Gateway Sobering Center, a facility aimed at offering 24-hour care to individuals struggling with addiction. On Monday, the City Council approved a $1.6 million contract with Horizon Services, a California-based organization, to operate the center. The funding comes from federal sources, with additional support expected from New Mexico's opioid settlement funds. The Gateway Sobering Center is located on the city's Gateway campus in southeast Albuquerque, which already houses services related to housing and behavioral health. The facility will offer 50 beds and provide a safe space where intoxicated individuals can stay up to 24 hours. The goal is to stabilize patients and connect them with treatment options if they are ready to take that step. This, quote, low barrier model is seen as a vital entry point for those who may not otherwise seek help. Ellen Baradin, Deputy Director of the city's Health, Housing, and Homelessness Department, said the city is expected to be operational by late summer, roughly 4 months after the contract is finalized. The annual operating cost is projected to be around $3 million. This step comes after the city had to terminate a previous $2.5 million contract with a different provider, Listo, which failed to launch services on schedule.
Back in November, there was a whole ceremony for this sobering center. It was supposed to open in December, and
my colleague Noah Kalabach is a reporter at the Journal.
That didn't happen. As a result, the city ended up terminating its contract with the previous provider. And so, Horizon Services, who they've tapped to be the operator for the sobering center, is filling that gap.
The need for addiction services remains pressing in Albuquerque, where areas like East Central have become known for open-air drug use, particularly fentanyl. While overdose deaths in New Mexico have declined slightly in recent years, the state still ranks among the highest nationwide for overdose per capita. Experts, including Cassandra Bones from the University of New Mexico Center on Alcohol, Substance Abuse, and Addictions, say the sobering center's approach can help build trust and offer crucial connections to long-term recovery services. The facility aims to fill the crucial gap in the city's response to substance use disorders by providing accessible, immediate care and referrals to ongoing treatment. In other headlines from the newsroom, the Lee County Correctional Facility near Hobbs will close by the end of June after 27 years, resulting in over 200 layoffs and the relocation of about 1,000 inmates to other state prisons. The GEO Group, which owns the facility, chose not to renew its contract and proposed selling the prison to the state, initially for $240 million, later reduced to $175 million. The state declined, citing better oversight through state-run facilities. The facility may be repurposed as a U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Detention Center, though no formal agreement has been announced. Built in 1998 on a former World War II airbase, the prison was originally part of a broader effort to ease overcrowding and boost the local economy. The state now plans to assist layoff employees with job resources and will hold a hiring event on May 29th. And on the morning of May 8th, a Las Cruces police officer witnessed a chaotic foot chase involving 3 teenagers while parked near a middle school. According to Police Chief Jeremy Story, 18-year-old Josiah Perot pursued 2 teens into a medical office parking lot where he shot one of them before the officer fatally shot Perot. One witness claimed Perot pointed a gun at the officer, who activated his body camera only after the incident. The altercation reportedly began with an argument over exchanged looks between 2 teens on foot and 4 individuals in a car, including Perot. After a brief separation, the car returned and Perot and the other person gave chase with firearms. The wounded teen did survive, and investigations into possible criminal charges for the others involved are ongoing. Perot had prior encounters with law enforcement, including a past fleeing charge and involvement in an incident tied to a suspected drive-by shooting. The shooting occurred close to Young Park, the site of a March shooting that killed 3 teenagers. Chief Story emphasized the need to address youth violence and described the incident as another tragic example of senseless loss. The news conference was held 12 days later due to the Las Cruces Police Department's participation in National Police Week in Washington, D.C., where they honored a fallen officer. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 87, and this evening mostly clear with a low around 53. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. That's the Leading News. I'm Gino Gutierrez. We'll be back tomorrow.